Hey everyone, welcome back. And on to chapter 3. That evening, after Dave's friends left, we had our first dinner in the church. Mom and Dave did most of the talking. They didn't make much of an effort to involve us in the plans they were making for their art projects. While they chattered about crafts, fairs, and galleries, Heather picked at her food as if she expected to find crushed glass or rat poison hidden in it. And Michael described the huge centipede he had caught in the bedroom. Ignoring my pleas for him to talk about something less disgusting, how can a person enjoy eating spaghetti when their brother is babbling about a hideous million-legged creature over 4 inches long? As we were finishing our dessert, Mom suggested going for a walk before it got dark. Naturally, Michael suggested a tour of the graveyard. And everyone but me agreed. As they got ready to leave, I considered staying home and washing the dishes. But then I decided it might be worse to be all alone in the house. Reluctantly, I followed them out the back door and down the brick path to the graveyard. The sun was hovering on the mountain tops, and a tall oak tree at one end of the graveyard sent a long shadow over the grass toward us. As we entered the gate, a flock of crows rose from the oak and flew away, cawing loudly as if we were trespassers. When I took Mom's hand, Heather smiled mockingly at me from her perch on Dave's shoulders. "Molly's scared of the graveyard," she whispered in his ear, "but I'm not." To prove how brave she was, she slipped down and ran ahead of us. Scrambling up on a tombstone, she spread her arms. "Look at me, Daddy," she called. "I'm an angel." "Hey, get down from there," Dave grabbed her. "These are too old for you to climb on, honey. They could topple right over." "I was just playing." Heather tugged at his beard, trying to braid it around her fingers. "At least I'm not a scaredy cat." While Dave was occupied with Heather, Mom turned to me and put her arm around my shoulders. "See how peaceful it is, Molly? There's nothing frightening about an old graveyard." She hugged me close. I didn't say anything, nor did I try to pull away. Instead, I snuggled closer, feeling safe as long as I could feel her warm body next to mine. "What's the matter, Molly?" Dave smiled at me over Heather's dark brown hair. "Do you expect to see a ghost?" Embarrassed, I forced myself to laugh. "Of course not. I'm just cold, that's all." And it was true. The sun had slipped down behind the mountains, taking the warmth of the day with it. A little breeze brought the chill of night with it as it tossed the heads of the Queen Anne's lace blooming all around us. "Look," Michael called to us from the other side of the graveyard. "A whole family named Barry is buried here." He waved his arm at a cluster of tombstones guarded by a solemn marble angel. "This must be the berry patch." Everybody laughed at his joke but me. It didn't seem right to call out the names of dead people, especially if you were laughing. Uneasily, I followed Mom toward the angel, but I wanted very badly to go back to the church. "Listen to this," Michael said. "Ada Barry, beloved wife of Edward Barry, April 3rd, 1811 to November 28th of 1899. Not dead, only resting from life's weary toil." And here's her daughter. See? "Susanna Barry, June 10th to 1832, December 30th, 1835. A little lamb in the hands of the Lord." And over here, "Oh, stop, Michael, stop." Mom pulled him away from the tombstone of another Barry child. "That's too sad. Don't read any more." "I thought this was such a peaceful place," I murmured. "Well, it is." Mom's voice wavered, though, and she looked past me at the sky where the first stars were beginning to glow. "But don't you want to know how they died?" Michael asked. "Little kids like these probably died from smallpox or diphtheria or even measles. And this one right here, Adam Barry, died in 1863 and he was 21. He was probably killed in the Civil War. A Yankee soldier? Think of that." "It's getting dark," I said, pointing out the obvious. "Why don't we go back to the church?" "Yes," Mom agreed. "The mosquitoes have found me." Where has Heather run off to? Dave scanned the graveyard, growing so dark now that everything was gray and indistinct. There she is, Michael pointed to the far end of the graveyard where the oak tree stood in the shadows. We could barely see Heather poking around in the weeds. Come on, Heather, David called. You've got all day tomorrow to explore this place, and none of these folks is going anywhere. He and Mom chuckled and put his arm around her waist and whispered something in her ear that made her giggle. Glancing at Heather, I saw her stop and stare at Dave and Mom. Even in the darkness, I could see the look of hatred that flashed across her pale face at the sight of him embracing Mom. Then, realizing that I was looking at her, she made her face blank and walked slowly toward us, trailing her fingers across the tombstones and humming softly. By the time we reached the church, the trees were dark, masses against the sky, flickering with fireflies, and above us the sky was studded with stars and crescent moon barely clearing the oak tree. Look at that, Mom paused on the back of the steps, her head tilted back. I've forgotten how many more stars you can see when you get away from the city. There's the Milky Way and the Big Dipper, Michael said, and the Little Dipper, too, and the North Star. David pointed at something that only he could see. If you're interested, Michael, I've got some astronomy books we can look at while Mom and I wash the dinner dishes. It's dinner dishes, excuse me. Dave got out a book and sat down at the kitchen table to explain one of the star charts to Michael. Finding herself with nothing to do, Heather climbed into Dave's lap and did all she could to make it impossible for him to talk to Michael. I'm sleepy, Daddy, she whispered. I want you to put me to bed. Is your room all ready? Dave asked. Yes, but I don't want to sleep there. She peeked at me, then tugged at Dave's beard. Why not, honey? He asked gently, freeing his beard. Because of her. Heather looked at me again and snuggled closer to Dave. I don't want to sleep with her. Mom and Dave looked at each other and sighed as if they'd been expecting something of the sort. Molly, it's your sister now, Heather, Dave said patiently. Sisters always share. Heather stuck out her lip and managed to squeeze a few tears out of her big, sad eyes. She's mean to me. Oh, Heather, Mom said softly, Molly's not mean to you. When Mom tried to touch Heather's shoulder, she jerked away as if Mom had intended to hurt her. You leave me alone, Heather cried. You're mean too, and I hate you both. Him too. She glared at Michael, then turned to Dave. I don't want to live here with them. I want my own mother back. There was a little silence in the kitchen which made all the night noises, the crickets and the frogs and the wind and the leaves, seem louder. Now, honey, Dave stood up with Heather in his arms. Daddy will tuck you in and tell you a little princess story. Wouldn't you like that? Heather buried her face in his neck, but as he carried her out of the door, she looked at me and stuck out her tongue. Just ignore her, Molly, Mom said softly. It's been a long day and we're all tired. You always make excuses for her no matter what she says or does. I flopped down in the chair beside Michael. She's spoiled rotten. Oh, Molly, can't you be more understanding? Mom looked at me sadly. She's such an unhappy little girl. That doesn't give her the right to make us miserable, too. The only thing that would make her happy is for you and Dave to split up. Can't you see that's what she wants? Mom shook her head. That's a terrible thing to say, Molly. I'm ashamed of you. Molly's right, Michael said. Heather hates us. She's never going to be happy living here. If we give her enough love, she'll change, Mom said. I know she will. Michael and I looked at each other and shook our heads. Why couldn't Mom face facts? You two could try a little harder, Mom added in a crosser voice. You've never really given her a chance, always running away from her, teasing her, making her cry. Mom, that's not fair. I jumped to my feet, ready to run to my room. I've tried and tried and tried, but she twists everything I do all around and lies, and then you believe her, not me. Mom turned her back and leaned on the sink. Just try harder, Molly, please. She kept her face hidden as she spoke, and I realized that she was crying. Running to her side, I put my arms around her and hugged her tightly, pressing my face into the little hollow beneath her collarbone. Okay, Mom, I whispered, trying hard not to cry myself. I'll try some more. Mom hugged me fiercely. I'm sorry, Molly. I know you've tried. I'm just so discouraged. I thought by now Heather would be happier with us, but sometimes I'm afraid you and Michael are right. She doesn't want my love. She wiped her tears away with the back of her hand and sighed. I don't know what to do. I love Dave so much, and you all too, but Heather, I just don't know. She made herself a cup of peppermint tea and carried it out on the back porch, knowing she wanted to be alone. I sat down beside Michael while he studied the star chart. I thought about Mom. I hated to see her so unhappy, but I had no idea what I could do to help her feel better. Heather sat in the middle of everything, making all of us miserable, and as far as I could see, enjoying every minute of it. Alright, guys, I'll see you in chapter 4. Bye.